Hello, everybody. You're very welcome to join us here today. And today, Dan, I think, wants to bring up a subject today, and we're going to have a chat about it. Dan is going to ask me a few questions for a change.
Absolutely, yeah. You ready for it, Paul?
Absolutely. I hope I can answer it.
All
And
always ready.
I'm not really sure of the full topic yet, so it's going to be interesting. That's a blind
No,
questions.
no. I'm going to ambush you with some questions. I've got full faith and confidence in your ability to field them.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I guess so. Just to frame this, we want to talk a bit more about the concept of connected advice. So we spoke briefly on one of our other sort of broadcast conversations that we had about the role of connected advice in our family office offering,
Yeah.
the role that it plays, and the reason why it's critical to the effectiveness of the way in which we deliver that. So that's the overarching subject, connected advice. And I thought I could first pose to you, if you was to give us sort of I guess, an anecdote, a headline as to the role that plays, and we can then dive into some further questions about the components of that connected advice.
I suppose, yeah, connected devices to me is the ultimate service and the ultimate to be of service to the people that we're working with because um, it's very lonely being an entrepreneur out there. On the journey of entrepreneurship and the journey of business ownership is a journey that is really difficult to um, be an expert in all the areas you need to be, but it's also can be extremely lonely. And we've seen that as we've talked about previously through COVID and through the whole journey of COVID, but also on an ongoing basis over the last 30 years. I've talked to numerous amounts of business owners, and they never really, if they have a problem, where do they go to? That's the kind of the so as a business owner, where do you go to if you have a problem? Now you have your team and you have the people around you, but that's version one. So that's kind of understanding how to solve the problems that you have. Then on the other side is where are you going and where do you need to get to? And having clarity around that, and we're constantly talking about this every time we have a conversation, that kind of a strategic plan, the clarity around that. And then once you have that clarity, how do you actually implement that within your business? So first of all, and that's why we look at the family first scenario, because if you get it right for yourself as a person first, where your destination is, where you want to go to, what's your journey, are the three big questions. Where are you now? Where are you going? And how can we help you? So that starts this conversation as a business owner. Then, yes, I'm running a business. And as I'm running the business, I want to be able to do X, I want to be able to do Y. But then you go into the business, and when you get into the business, you get stuck in working in the business rather than working on the business, the big EMIT principle. So if you're all your time working in the business, you don't have time to step back and see that journey yourself. And the journey goes very, very fast. I can categorically guarantee you that when you're looking backwards, it's a lot faster than when you're looking forwards. But so therefore, having the ability to sit down and say, right, here's where I am, but then look ahead in an overall capacity. So look at the advice you know, for your personal financial planning, for your personal mortgages, for your personal taxation, for your creation of wealth, for making sure you have your will in place, making sure you have your will for your business in place, and all of these critical strategic steps that you need to have at the outset. But then once you have the plan, then it's an ongoing basis. It's ongoing and forever. You're referring back to that plan. We said to people, you service your car once or twice a year, you should review your plan once or twice a year. And that's really the concept and the full concept of connected advice.
And just then to dig into some of these points, Paul, a few bits I guess for us to unpick there. But you've referenced the three questions of where are you going, how are you getting there piece, and that ties into discovery. So I wonder if could we start to dig into a bit of that discovery piece. And I guess a question I would pose straight off the bat is when we're talking about discovery and looking at understanding, defining objectives, how far out are we looking? How wide are we looking when we're looking to define those objectives?
Well, I suppose when you go outside and look up in the air, you can see the sun, right? So that's the ultimate destination. So when you're going off and you're deciding you're going off into the sun yourself, metaphorically speaking, you're retiring and you're finished your business journey. What's that destination look like for you? And then that's the end point. So you start with this visual concept of, when I get to the end, what would I like to have? What would I like to have achieved? Because everything is not financially. What would I like the legacy to be about when I have that legacy? The discovery part then becomes, there's a clarity breakthrough that we do within discovery, and that clarity breakthrough means that we're looking to see what the destination is. Now, every time I do this, the destination will always change. At the end, like, you'll have this kind of a roundabout feeling that you want to have X amount of money and you want to travel a lot and you want to retire healthy and all of that side of it. But if you decide that that's your journey, then we have to map backwards. Then we start with that and we come backwards. And I love the concept of 5-year blocks, right? So, you do this block theory again, as we're talking about always block and bricks, but the block theory means that if you're 30 and you're retiring at 60, you have a finite number of blocks. So then you start looking in that 5 year, what am I trying to do? In the next 5 years, what am I trying to do? And then you gauge those blocks in terms of, because life throws a lot of curveballs at us as we're doing this, and those curveballs can hit you so unexpectedly. And the curveballs that hit you usually are loss. Do you know what I mean? It's usually health issues that happen. So the clarity breakthrough starts with the idea of what that destination is, and then you move backwards. The other things in discovery we look at are risk management, and where is the risk in your life or in your business, and then quantifying that risk for you to say, well, I have a risk in my health area, I have a risk in my wealth area. I don't have a pension started. I have no money built up if I want to retire. I've too much debt around me in my life. My business doesn't have proper insurance or things like, I have insurance, but I don't know if it's covered. So the risk management is a big part of it, because everybody will have risk, but then my attitude to risk is different to yours. So whatever your attitude, once you quantify what the risk elements are, you then have to quantify what your attitude to that risk is. And that attitude to risk comes with age. It comes with your experience. Things that I would have found extremely risky a number of years ago, I don't think they're risky anymore because I have experience. And you can't buy experience. I've tried to get other people to do press-ups for me and it just doesn't work. I still have to. But that concept of the risk. So in the discovery phase, then you have the clarity breakthrough, and then you have the risk. And we look at those two in a lot of depth within our overall connected advice piece, because you need other people as well. And that's the other part of this. You need the people around you, and you need a team of people. And this is the most important point in all of this. When you look at the connected advice, who do you need in your team for connected advice? And the typical business person or business they're going to have a bookkeeper, an accountant, financial advisor, corporate finance lender. They're going to need a commercial solicitor at some stage in their business. They're going to need to be able to deal with suppliers. They're going to have HR. Just think of all the things you need to have around you, as well as your team of people and your customers and clients. Client onboarding, all of these things, customer service, marketing. So all these teams of people you need to, and when you got into business, you went into business to do the thing that you wanted to do, as we were always taught, as the widget makers. I've yet to meet one, but they're very, very successful, these widget makers. But you need to understand who is on your team, and then you need to have somebody. I won't say it's a personal assistant, but it's a personal advisor that you have standing right beside you, that takes what's in your brain out, and they're coordinating that plan for you. And that's the family office scenario that we talk about, and it's the family first. So somebody will coordinate all of that for you on your behalf, and then their job as well is to guide you through startup, grow, scale, and harvest phases.
So to talk through some of the main points, so we've got the idea of building out the objectives. We're going as wide as possible on the scope of understanding where we're aiming. The analogy of the sun, but without the jest, the point we're trying to make here is that incorporate everything, these objectives, look as far out as possible. We're taking a role of understanding the value that connected advice brings that enables us to ask the right questions. And a lot of the discovery feels like it's around being able to ask those questions that are relevant to formulating the plan that is specifically tailored to that individual, that business. And from my own personal point of view here, I know some of those questions can be difficult to ask. You talked about some of the risk management points, which comes down to protection. We have similar with when it comes to things like inheritance tax planning. These can be difficult questions, but they've got to be asked to truly be providing the encompassed value that comes with the connected advice piece. Is that fair?
I think we have an obligation as accountants, and advisors to ask these questions. That's why we're like, when we qualify them and all the CPD and all the learning we do on an ongoing basis and all the advice from our institutes and our regulators and all means that we have to my understanding and my personal values and beliefs are that yes, you ask the hard questions, but the thing about it is, after doing this for since 1980, I started in accountancy in 1982. After doing it, the thing that the questions are repetitive. They're the same questions. There's no real, even through COVID and even through the difficulties with COVID, the questions were the same. So you have, and the reason and they have to be the same because you have to have the same opportunities as anybody else. So wherever you are in business, wherever your opportunity, you have to be given the same tax breaks, the same opportunities to grow your business as anybody else. And then it's up to you as a person, as a human being, to decide, yeah, I'm going to really, truly, I am going to nail this. I'm going to go 100% into this. And I'm going to make sure that when I get to the end of my business or the end of my life, my theory on that is when I meet my maker at the other side, I've used every bit of talent I've been given. And I slide in backwards completely wore out, but that's just my own take on it. But I'd like to have, but the thing about it is that we've an obligation then, if we're truly this connected advice role, this CFO role, this role that's really important out there, that we're actually, working on ourselves and asking ourselves the same questions. We're asking our people and our teams the same questions. We're asking our clients the same questions. And the thing about it is what we do is not for everybody, right? So this is not a one basket. There is people out there that this service, they don't want this service. Whether they need the service or not, that's an opinion. But the people that understand this, I think there's an incredible relief when you talk to people about this. There's an incredible, they get this sense of, oh my God, I didn't know this was out there. I didn't know this was available out there. I mean, you've experienced that recently out talking with people.
Yeah. So a lot of the clients that we go through this process with, and it is geared around that discovery piece at the start. Where it is you're heading. There is the response is unanimously positive, but with a sort of like an acknowledgement that there was absolutely no idea that this was something that might be available to them. For the majority of clients, whilst we promote the way that we work, we'll usually engage in a conversation with our clients about what would be a more typical service delivery for an accountant to provide.
Which is a compliance service, which everybody knows and understands.
Exactly.
The world of business has changed, and the world of accountancy has changed, and the world of accountants into the future has changed, because automation and AI is coming in to help us and to eliminate a lot of the repetitive nature and the repetitive work within the compliance section. So we have to reinvent ourselves. Do you know what I mean? And the reinvention of the accountancy industry and our job as accountants, because of the speed of technology and the speed of advice and the speed of people. Like years ago, it was okay for somebody to ask you a question, you come back 3 weeks later with the answer. Now you ask them a question and you're more or less expected to have the answer there and then. Because if you go on and look for a service for yourself and you go in and you're doing up your kitchen and you go in to buy your kitchen and you pick out a kitchen, somebody, I'll have that for you in 6 months' time, and you go home and you sit down, that's not acceptable to us anymore in terms of that. Granted, we have to put up with it, but it's not acceptable. So what we're trying to figure out here is what does, as well, an accountancy practice in 20 to 30 years' time look like? And what's the journey and how do we protect ourselves? And then that's where the family first comes in, and that's where the family office and the connected advice and that's where this is where I see my job as a strategic and that visionary picture of where I see this thing moving to, and then trying to position ourselves.
And so I guess, Paul, as sort of a close on this, we talk to the overarching subject here is of the role that connected advice plays in the evolution of how we work for and with our clients. We talked about the questions, where are you heading, defining that through the discovery piece, where are you now, and then the journey required in order to get there that's evolutionary. And we talked to the idea of the 5-year blocks. That's a concept you take with you. It allows you to break down that journey into much more manageable periods of time, which in their own right will evolve as you move through them, and we can move with that through our proactive approach. To tie it all together then, Paul, I'll hit you with this, and you won't sit on the fence, I know. If you're then gonna tie that to connected advice, what can clients expect, having been through that effort of discovery and objective planning, building out a roadmap? What does the connected advice look like in a nutshell?
So, as we said, there's a 3-phased approach here to this. There's the discovery, there's the planning, and there's the execution, right? And the discovery part is understanding the person behind the business, understanding their wants, their needs, their family, and we're doing this from a financial perspective, okay? So as we understand that, we're also looking at it from a financial perspective. So we're putting a financial number on a lot of the things that they're talking about. And that's a slight nuance to it. Like it's not psychological testing we're doing it, but it's financial testing based on a particular situation. So that's the discovery. And we've tools and things that we use in the discovery method. The planning then, once we have that, we go away and put a plan in place. So based on your particular circumstances, we'll put a plan in place for that. We'll take that plan then, right? And then the execution part comes in. So then we'll use our strategic advisors, our strategic partners, and we'll put that plan, the execution of that plan. So the start to the middle of this can be anything from, a month to 3 months to 6 months to a year. And then what we do is, when your plan is in place, it's a review process. So because as plans change, like tax regulation changes, do you know what I mean? So the business grows and the business moves in a different direction. So you have to move with the plan, but the core basis of the plan will always be the same for you. And then it's an updating of that plan on a regular basis. So you're always having the advice conversation with the client, but the client can always has this document that they can refer back to. Here's my life in numbers. And then the client can sit down and say, what if we decided to take a year out? What if we decided to pay back our mortgage? There's a scenario planning comes into this. It's all what ifs. My child wants to go to college. I need to have that money there. I don't have the money. How much do I need to do this? And then you look at that, from a person. I want to decide I'm going to travel for, 3 months of the year. I want to buy a second home. Like all of these questions that people ask, what we do is we just pop the question into the scenario. And the scenario will cost this, and then we'll say, it's okay. Like some of the biggest things I've got out of this is I was doing it with a client of mine a number of years ago, and she was in the office, she started crying. Do you know what I mean? And I said, I'm so sorry. I said, she said, you don't understand. This is not sad tears. This means that I can actually retire. I've seen the vision in front of me here, and I know I can stop working now rather than 5 years' time. She don't realize what that actually means to me and my family. Now, the decision of when you can do it is the decision depending on that SUN number that you're looking at the start. But that number is never as big as people think.
No.
That's the crucial point of this. The number, pick a number that's out there, 10 million, 20 million, whatever, it's never that number. It could be as low as, $1 million, depending on your circumstances, where you're living and what you're... and that's the biggest thing of it. So, and people don't need to do full retirement. Like you're looking at this, the startup, but you're looking at the stages of your financial life. you know, like people want to get a home, you know, they need to start a family. That's the traditional startup side of it. But then you move from there into your working business life, where you're starting the accumulation phase, and then you're going into the retirement phase, and then you've kind of pre-retirement, and then you have this, you know, there's a gap of a number, maybe 5 or 6 years post-retirement, where your spending does become a little bit higher because you've that freedom. So it's that journey of that period of the 5 year period post-retirement, and then you have later life stages where you're looking at, you know, making sure that you have enough income to, that if something happens to you, you're unwell or you need to go into care, that the income is there for that. So it's a, like, it's a phenomenal piece of work that's done, and to me, it's the ultimate reason we're doing this.
Yeah, and I feel, Paul, as we come to probably where we're in today, but we've got an opportunity here to tease the audience with our next broadcast, because you've touched on the idea of the number, the freedom number, and perhaps that's our opportunity to say thank you to everybody for joining us, and next time we can just venture a little bit further into the idea of that freedom number.
Happy to do that, and thank you. And the questions were great. I really enjoyed them.
Wonderful. Cheers, Paul.
Talk to you soon.
See ya.
Yeah. Well.